Hey everyone, welcome to the EverydayFI podcast. Today on the show, I'm going to be speaking with Amanda, who has actually reached financial independence and retired. We talk a lot about how that happened, how she came to the financial independence movement, and why she decided to quit when she did. I do want to mention a trigger warning because we are going to be talking a little bit about workplace sexual harassment, and I want to make sure to be sensitive to anybody who might be triggered by that. We will also be talking a lot about burnout, and Amanda herself has become a burnout coach, which is pretty awesome, the way that she bounced back from her situation. So tune in to hear Amanda's story and see how resiliency can come from financial independence. All right, thanks for joining me today. I'll be speaking with Amanda about her financial independence story. Hey, Amanda, how are you doing today? Can you introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm doing really well. My name is Amanda. I am about a year and a half into my separation from work, change of career, life journey change. Found financial independence several years ago, which actually allowed for that change. And it's been really incredible to be able to have that flexibility. So before that, I was a systems engineer for 21 years in the defense industry, working for a huge defense contractor. Traveled all over the country, moved several times as part of that career. By the time I left, I had been a program manager for a little bit, but I mostly was a team lead. So I had up to 20 people at any time who reported to me all across the country. And the nature of the work that we did, we had to be on site even through COVID. We had no work from home real options. There was a lot of travel, a lot of meetings in rooms, inside of rooms type of situation. So I was working 10 plus hour days on a site, or I was traveling to go work 10 plus hour days in a different location. I got old pretty quick, and I realized it was starting to actually dramatically impact my health. And I was getting snappy and just in general, not a fun person to be around anymore. So I decided that 2023 was going to be my sabbatical year, where I just quit the job and stepped away and rediscovered passions, rediscovered myself, but also gave me that chance to get over the burnout I was experiencing.
It sounds like that sabbatical just turned into full-time, that left the job, not going back. Is that right?
That's pretty much right. As part of that, so my boyfriend and I were 3 hours apart from each other. So during that time, it made sense for me to sell my house in Texas, move to Oklahoma to be with him so that we weren't doing the back and forth anymore, which is also another layer of exhaustion. If you've ever had to do a long distance relationship, you know how difficult that can be. And so to really give our relationship a chance and not be long distance forever, one of us had to make a move. And since I was already looking at quitting my job anyways, it just made sense, for me to be the one who quit, move to Oklahoma, sell my house. And that also pulled me out of being able to easily go back to my former employer. So it really helped me in that sense of, hey, I didn't have a 10-minute commute anymore to walk back into my old career. I really had to actually commit to this year I'd now given myself. Huge blessing in disguise.
Yeah, for sure. And it sounds like you had kind of a balance of something that you were, running away from the job and running towards being closer to your partner. And I know a lot of times when people first find financial independence, they're, running away from the job that they don't like, and oftentimes forget the running towards part. So it's great that you had something like that. But was there anything that you found that you were running towards besides just being close to your partner? Like, was there anything else that you wanted to accomplish post-FI and was the reason why you wanted to leave your job?
Yeah, so that's one of those interesting questions. I had found financial independence years and years ago, and I was always saving, and I was a natural saver based on the way I was raised. And so I continued to save. And then when I had this realization that for my own mental and physical and spiritual health, I needed to leave my job, I truly had this naive notion that I would quit on a Friday, wake up on Monday, I'd be doing yoga every day and be totally zen. it was such a naive thought. And I look back and I can laugh at it because in reality, what happened is I woke up and was like, man, I'm tired. I have this laundry list of things I want to go do. I had like designed my ideal day and come up with how I thought life was going to look. And then life said, you know what? No, that's not happening. You need rest. You need to recover from burnout. You really just need to focus on you. And so for pretty much all of 2023, it was weekly acupuncture, daily journaling, working out. I tried lots of different workouts and discovered I love water aerobics. So I find myself in the pool like every day. And it's awesome. It's this class with me and a bunch of significantly older Hispanic ladies. So I'm learning very weird Spanish words that probably will never come up in normal conversation, but it's been fun. It's been a lot of fun. And from there, I've also been able to just really dive in and focus on, what it's like to now live with my partner, reading a lot and focus on me.
Yeah, it's amazing how something that you envision for yourself and something that you're like, oh, my life is going to be this exact way, and how life is like, just kidding. And it kind of throws you a curveball. And I've heard this before, that when people quit their jobs, even if they weren't, completely burnt out, I've heard that they're like, I slept for 3 months straight, or I slept in until noon for 3 months straight, or something like that, because I think that it's quite unnatural for us who are working, the type of jobs that we're working, where we're at desks and not moving a lot during the day and having a lot of very high level, high intelligence tasks. That takes a lot out of you. I actually just saw a study, I think it was The Economist, that had and I don't know why The Economist was studying this, but where they looked at two people doing different tasks and how it affected their feelings of being tired and exhausted. And so they gave one set of people easy tasks to do all day, and they gave another set of people hard tasks to do all day. And it's funny because I actually thought that the hard tasks would give people more energy because they, got you thinking and got you really churning. But it was actually the opposite, that the easy tasks actually gave people energy and they felt good afterwards. But the hard tasks, they were exhausted. And so the learning from that was not don't do hard tasks. It was don't inundate yourself with hard stuff. Balance it with the easy tasks and allow your brain to be creative and think, have a rest and things like that. And I feel like in our jobs, especially as a program manager, I'm a product manager myself in software. So I totally understand the stress that goes with that kind of job. And I can't even imagine for a defense, contractor, what that stress level is like. It's just not what we're supposed to do as human beings. We're, supposed to be hunting and gathering and sleeping and having babies, according to like what we became a long time ago. So that makes sense that's what your body needed.
The company that I worked for, their tagline was actually, or I should say the division that I was in, their tagline was, we do hard things. If you have that, impossible thing that you're like, this would be cool. How the heck do we do it? They would come to us. We were the research and development kind of think tank portion of the company, and Skunkworks, for those who are familiar. And all day it was those hard problems. And when you weren't solving the hard problems, you're in the meetings with the executives who are questioning how you've solved those hard problems. And so it just mentally, it just really wears on you after a while. And it's amazing because some people were able to just push through. And for years I pushed through, but I was slowly being worn down until eventually, like, I had nothing left in my tank, to the point that I went to my doctor and was like, I don't understand. I have no energy. I will have a couple of days periodically where I just can't even straight up get out of bed. And they tested me and they're like, your cortisol levels at the beginning of the day are what most people end their day with. I think cortisol is the one that's like the gas in the tank of how much energy you have, whatever that one is. I had at the beginning of the day was where most people ended their day energy wise. And they were like, this is a problem. They're like, you have to like de-stress a little. But my job didn't really allow for that. So made the tough decision. There were a lot of moments like that led to me making the tough decision. That was not the only one. There were a lot of professional setbacks. There were a lot of quite frankly, professional things that should not have happened, that all of them compounded with me saying, it's time to walk away. What is the point of having this FU money if I don't ever actually say FU? So I remember that day that I talked to my program manager because he was like, you've had a very terrible week. And it's like, yeah, I have. And he's like, and we were in there on one of our off days having a meeting that we had to be there for. And he's like, hopefully you can take the weekend to recover. And I'm like, yeah, about that. I'm done. And the look on his face was like stunned. And then there was oh God, you're serious. It's like, yeah, I am. And then as I actually was progressing to leave, I found it absolutely incredible. Everyone who was like 30 and under was like, oh my gosh, how are you doing this? And so I gave out so many copies of Simple Path to Wealth. It wasn't even funny. Everyone my age and older was like, and I, because of the podcast, can't say the words they actually used, but they were like, I can't believe you're leaving. And then as we dug into a little further, turns out a lot of them were paycheck to paycheck. And it was because of those life decisions that they'd made. And so they didn't understand, because here I am a peer. They thought I was the same as them. They didn't understand how I was able to walk away. It's like, oh no, I intentionally chose to have a different path. I was saving over half of my salary so that I could do this if I ever needed to.
I'm just envisioning you on your last day, just having a whole stack of J.L. Collins' book and just being like, here's one for you and for you and for you, kind of like Oprah, just handing out a book for you and a book for you and a book for you. And I'm laughing so hard at that because there was a Slack channel at an old company that I worked at where they had a personal finance channel, and somebody in there came in, and I think he was 22 and had just started at the job, and it was his first job ever. And he was like, what, resources for handling my money would you guys recommend? And of course, people are coming in with Dave Ramsey and all that crap. And I was like, no, J.L. Collins, Simple Path to Wealth. Read it. It will change your life. He read it. A month later, came back to me, DM'd me on Slack and was like, dude, this literally did change my life. I am now at a 50% savings rate, which I was like, how did you do that?
That's incredible.
Yeah, well,
incredible.
I think he probably went and cut everything. I think he'll probably get to the point where he's like, maybe I shouldn't go right to 50. But I was like, he was like, this changed my life and I'm telling everybody about it. And I was like, yes. I got another one. I got another one recruited to the cult. So nice. Yeah, I love that you did that. And I love that you shared that with them. And I love that you were brave enough to go and say, I'm done. And I'm wondering if you'd be comfortable elaborating on what happened at work that, the other things that happened that kind of led you to this choice.
So prior to the really terrible week that I refer to, when I was a program manager, I was actually in a position where the director that I reported to made a sexually inappropriate comment. And I was far enough in my career, and it was one of those moments where I could have ignored it, but instead I was like, this is unacceptable. And so I followed all the channels and filed an HR complaint. But in a big corporation, especially a defense contractor, HR is really there to protect the company. So at the end of the day, all that happened is he got a slap on the hand. He was given a week off without pay, and I still had to report to him. The story doesn't end there. So by the time that happened, he called me into his office for a 7 a.m. meeting. So as soon as I went green on IM, he was like, hey, I need you in my office. And he was like, so someone turned me into HR, and I surmised that it was you. And that started a terrible conversation that essentially was retaliation, which is another huge no-no. And I walked out of there, and the investigator happened to be calling. And so they ended up he was just checking, making sure I'd gotten the official, the end report. And I was like, actually, we need to open this back up. And I explained what happened. They found everything in my favor. So I was not at fault for anything. They found that this director was completely at fault, and nothing happened. I still had to report to him. I still had to see him every day. And it's like, are you flipping kidding me? So I got out of that position, actually left that division of the company. And then I moved back into where I'd come from initially. So I changed divisions a few times. So here I am. I'm working for a program manager who I really loved. I actually took a step down in my career at this point. And so I'm working for a program manager I really loved. I had a huge team. I'm traveling all the time. And then I came back from vacation, found out I needed to go to DC, and I ended up with a kidney infection. So I spent a week in a DC hotel, holed up, recovering from a kidney infection until I was able to travel home again. And then a couple months go by, and I had said no to travel and was trying to scale back a little because kidney infections just take it out of you. And then they were like, oh, you know what? Your program's not important. We're going to take your whole team and move them to a whole nother program. So I'm trying to do a proposal for the next phase of the contract, run the current phase, and do all this other like related work. And I already was maybe half staffed at where I needed to be. And just one fell swoop, they took my whole team. And I'm like, well, I can't bid anything. Like I have nobody to do the work. I'm out. I'm done. And then one of my people was trying to leave, and I wanted to help get him like a counter offer that was really good. And a director came back and actually slapped my hand for letting him know that this employee was trying to leave. I was like, wait, what? How is this my fault? You guys insulted him. I'm letting you know what happened. And yeah, they took me to HR for that. And I was just like, are you kidding me? And then the next day, like, just more stuff happened in this drama saga thing about taking my whole team, because as you can imagine, trying to redeploy 20 people in a big corporation, like it doesn't go over well. And so there's all these meetings and trying to figure it out and smooth it out. And finally it was just like, okay, we get this calmed down, we get this settled down. And then stuff with the customer popped up. And it was just one of these weeks where everyone's like super cranky. I don't know what the planetary alignment was, but it was very bad that week. And that was the week that made me go, it's just not worth it. I'm done. It's been a crazy couple of years that started with that first director making the sexually inappropriate comment, culminating in this, and I'm done. And honestly, it was a great decision because my life now is so much richer and better, and I'm physically so much healthier.
Wow, I am so sorry that you went through all of that. It sounds like a lot to deal with, and especially sorry about that director who was not brought to justice for something that personally I think he should have been fired for. And
I 100% agree with you. And hopefully no one in the audience has ever been through anything like that. But if you have, need someone to talk to, you are welcome to reach out, because I've been in your shoes and I know how frustrating that is.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you are willing, we can talk about your contact information at the end. And then plus, sure. I also have, for every episode, I create a page that has a comment section so people can leave comments. It'll be on my website. So yeah, if anybody needs any help or just to talk to somebody, that's really kind of you, Amanda. And again, I'm so sorry. That's really tough. And thank you so much for being vulnerable and sharing that with us, because I feel like there are probably people out there who are going through similar things who think that they just have to put up with it because they need a job. But maybe this will show them that there is a way out, which leads me to kind of wondering, when during all of this journey did you find financial independence? Because I guess I'm wondering, like, it wasn't when you quit, correct? Because you had to get to a point to have the money to quit. So when did you find it? And what drove you to try and find financial independence?
Yeah, so another good question. So I was raised in Kansas on a farm, and farming is the ultimate risky gamble. You have to be a gambler to farm these days. It's such an expensive profession. And I would argue my parents weren't particularly successful at it. They lost a lot of money. We had a farm sale, bankruptcy, bank foreclosure. And so I grew up watching this stress on my parents every day, where they argued about money. There never was money for anything. I mean, we were even getting food from like food banks. Like they're just in here. It was so crazy because here we are raising food. And I swore to myself, I was never going to be like that. So even from a young age, as soon as I got to college, and I put myself through college on scholarships and working about 20 to 30 hours a week, and then summer internships. So granted, this was a while ago, but I was able to graduate with no student loan debt, which was phenomenal for me. And, I swore to myself I would never be in that same position. So I always saved a lot, but I hadn't found my why, and I hadn't kind of come to the realization of what I was doing or how to go about it. I just put everything into a savings account. And then several years in, I found Vanguard and started throwing my money in. And that was probably about 10 years into my career. And I don't remember who first said, here's Vanguard's number to me. I would love to go back and thank that person because that was a pivotal moment. And again, my why was always, I don't want to end up how I grew up. I never wanted that stress, that monetary stress to be a factor in my life because I saw how it led to the implosion of my parents' marriage. And there's still ripple effects to this day from how we were raised and the issues there surrounding money. And I've spent a lot of time in therapy to kind of work through my own money issues in that sense. And it's amazing how much of the childhood trauma issues stem from there just not being money for some of these basic things. And as a child, you don't understand the causes and you don't fully understand what's happening. You just know there are problems. And so the way we internalize that is really, we could probably do several podcast episodes just on that topic. And so as an adult, I was like, I'm not going through that again. And if I do ever have children, I'm not putting them through that.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. I completely agree that money permeates everything in our lives. Like it is what we have to use for everything. And of course, that means that the, fights and trauma that you have as a child also are going to stem from money at times, if not a lot of the time. And I know that finances is the number one reason why people get divorced, right? Is a lack of just alignment on the finances in any capacity. And it's got to be a struggle for kids, especially because they just don't understand money at that point, right? When you're really young. So I'm really happy that you are in therapy or went to therapy for that. I'm a huge proponent of therapy. I love my therapist and I talk about her a lot. And I am one of those weirdos who says, my therapist says, you said you could do a million podcast episodes about this topic. And I feel like I know a lot of people in the audience might not like Ramit Sethi, but I feel like that's one thing that he's doing with his podcast is he's really digging down into like the money scripts that you generate as a child and what your parents may have instilled in you as a child around money and values and money values. And it really shows how that permeates into your beliefs as an adult around money. And it is, it's so big because it even informs, gender roles and, feelings of enoughness and fulfillment and worthiness. It all can tie back to money in some way. And anyway, before I go on a tangent, I'm so with you. So I agree. Are you ready to take control of your financial future? Do you want to learn how to set powerful goals and invest wisely? Have you been yearning to quit your 9-to-5? Then my workbook, Your Journey to Freedom, is for you. This workbook is your roadmap to financial success. Whether you're a seasoned investor or just starting out, it's designed to help you define your goals, create a plan, and take action towards building wealth. Inside, you'll find practical exercises and tools that will help you identify your short, medium, and long-term financial goals, develop a personalized investment strategy tailored to these goals and your risk tolerance, track your progress and stay accountable to your financial objectives. Plus, there's bonus content like a quiz to test what you learn and a budget worksheet. With easy-to-follow instructions and insightful prompts, this workbook will empower you to make confident decisions and stay focused on your financial journey. Don't let another day go by without taking charge of your financial life. Invest in yourself and your future with the Your Journey to Freedom workbook. Order now and start turning your dreams into reality. Visit my website at everyday-fi.com/guides to get your copy today and start your journey to financial freedom. So I guess my next question is, besides wanting to leave that job, what is your why of FI? And what does reaching financial independence look like for you now that you're on the other side and you've gotten past the point where you've taken the rest and the self-care that you need? Are you going to continue doing that, or are you going to switch things up? Is there anything that you want to pursue now that you've had that rest and been able to come back a little bit from the burnout?
Yeah. So actually during my year of burnout, I had an amazing number of people, former colleagues, reach out to me and be like, hey, so I can't leave my job, but I'm facing burnout as well. What do you recommend? So I've actually in the last few months started burnout coaching myself, helping others through their burnouts, coming up with a plan, helping them with boundary setting, because that is a huge part of it. But then also, what is the underlying cause of their burnout? and how can we work through it? And everyone's a little bit different and everyone's needs are going to be a little bit different. And I absolutely love being able to help people through this. And so that's what I've been doing now. My why beyond that is, the freedom to kind of do whatever I want. And so last year I did fun things like I explored watercolors. I took some classes at the local art center. I've started learning Italian now just because I read like a fiend. I'm up to 45 books so far this year, beginning of June. And I'm reading all these series that I'd always like set aside and been like, I'll get to them someday. Well, someday's here. I'm doing it now. And we did quite a bit of traveling too. So like I actually read a book on Oklahoma history because before I moved here, I didn't know much about the state. And whenever we found ourselves with a little bit of time, it'd be like, well, I just read about this. Let's go check it out. And I also got to do some fun things for me. Like I love all the woo-woo stuff of life. And there's a huge thriving Bigfoot community here. So we actually went and got trained on how to be Bigfoot investigators. So if people call and they're like, I think I've seen something weird, someone like myself will get sent out to go investigate it. That's so much fun for me. I love it. So to me, FI is, I have that freedom and flexibility to go do those things. Or if I just want to go play with my kitten all day, I can do that too.
Your adorable little six-week-old kitten. So cute. That's amazing. Yeah. And what kind of books are you reading? Like, what's the genre? And do you have any recommendations for us?
I just finished the entire Slicky Stackhouse True Blood series with all of the accompanying books that she had, because there's 13 in the original series. Then there's probably another 13 of like short stories and mixes and partnerships with other authors. And I finished them all. I loved it. I kind of just read whatever strikes my fancy. For years, I traveled to things like UFO festivals and just random quirky things. And I would pick books up here and there. And then when I moved, I was like, man, I have so many effing books. I cannot keep buying books. And I also can't keep all these books around that I haven't read. So that's been one of the rules, is reading all the books I have. And then they go into two stacks. One, my partner wants to read as well. The other, he doesn't want to read, so they get donated. And so a lot of books have made their way now over and out of the house, which has been awesome. And so I'm slowly just burning through all these random things I picked up. And I've learned a lot of fun topics lately.
Yeah, that's one of the things I'd like to do when I reach financial independence and quit my 9-to-5, which I still have a 9-to-5, is I have a bunch of books that are on all different topics. A lot of them are like nonfiction history books that I really want to read, but a lot of them, because usually the fantasy books are a lot easier for me to pick up and read because it's an escape, right? Whereas history books are, that level of brain thought where it's like a higher level. And so it's, considered, it will drain your energy versus just like allowing you to rest a little bit. And I feel like fantasy books allow you to rest a little bit. And I just haven't read them, and I really want to. And so that's why I was asking, and I'm glad that you actually said a fantasy series, because a lot of people are like, oh, I'm reading, James Clear, or, and not that James Clear isn't great, but come on, y'all. I know you read a fantasy book. Let's say a fantasy book in here.
You know what? Give me a good book with fairies, vampires, werewolves, smut. I'm all into it. I love it. I get weekly acupuncture, and my acupuncturist and I actually trade book topics back and forth, or book titles back and forth, because she reads a lot of the same stuff I do. And it's been so much fun to be like, oh, have you tried this series yet? What about this one?
Yeah, I have some friends who are like that. And I'm just, we always recommend the fantasy books, and some are more smutty than others. I'm the less smut book type. So I'm like, anything that's YA fantasy, throw it my way. I'm down with that. So I am rereading Harry Potter, for example, right now for the 100 millionth time, because I am one of those millennials that when the books came out, I was the same age as Harry when they were published. So I think 1998, I was 11, and that was the first book published. He was 11. So I literally grew up reading them. And so it's just one of those things that has a really big part of my heart, regardless of what the author has done since. I'm really curious about what your strategy was to reach financial independence. And also, have you actually reached it? Or do you have to go back to work at some point? I know you said that you took a sabbatical. So does that mean you have to go back to work, or are you completely done? And if so, what was your strategy for getting there? Stock market, real estate, anything else?
Yeah, so I'm at what's called Coast Fire at this point. I do get all the definitions a little mixed up, so I'm pretty sure it's Coast Fire is where I am. I don't need to go back to work at this point. And I did that through a mixture of stock market, love me some Vanguard. I do have a rental house that brings in a little bit of income each month. And then at the height of COVID, I actually discovered Amazon publishing of public domain books. And so I've got about 50 titles out there on Amazon. They're not under my name. They're under the actual author's name, and they are public domain works. And so like every time you spend 99 cents on a Kindle download, I get 33 cents. And so that brings me in a little bit of consistent income every month as well. So I've got a handful of little things like that out there that are truly passive at this point. And then, as I said, I started doing the burnout coaching that I do charge for. So that brings in a little bit as well. And then I'm fortunate that my partner is also well on his way towards financial independence. He's behind me, but well on his own journey. So
awesome. And is he on his journey on his own, or did you bring him along?
So when we met, he was finishing up a divorce. And so he had a lot of debt from the divorce, that happens. So no judgment there. But he always had a saver frugality mindset. And so I pointed him in a couple directions and we talked about it quite a bit, but a lot of it has actually been him being self-motivated in this area.
That's awesome. And is there anybody specific that he follows in the financial independence community that he likes?
He loves Dave Ramsey.
That's awesome. Okay, cool. Yeah, then sorry for throwing some shade at Dave earlier, but that's cool. Yeah. So is there, like, once he gets past the baby steps, is there another step that he's going to take or you might think about taking with him?
We haven't gotten that far in the conversations because, for the most part, our finances are separate. So I know he's there if I need him. He knows I'm here if he needs me, but we've never sat down and combined everything. So we know what the other has. We're very open in that sense. We share expenses going forward, but we've never combined all of our accounts. So we haven't laid in, hey, what is the next step for each of us individually?
Yeah. And that's smart because I think you said that you guys live together, but you're not married yet. And I'm in the same situation. I live with my partner, but we're not married yet. And so our finances are separate and we are gradually kind of inching towards combining. But I think the real combination probably isn't going to happen until we solidify when we're going to get married. And then we'll like really start to combine things like on the path up to the point that we get married. And I think that that's just a really smart way to do it. I'm a little biased, obviously, but because as adults, people who are in their 30s and 40s and entering into serious relationships, you probably have some past money situations that are hard to just combine with another person. For example, my partner and I both own property, and we have decided that if we were to get married, the property that we owned prior to the marriage is going to stay separate because that just makes the most sense to us. And from there, I think all of we haven't really talked about like the investing stuff yet though, but I know that like we're very excited about reaching financial independence together. So that's going to be a conversation we have to have of like, do we want to combine all of this or do we want to be like, okay, from the line of when we got married, that's ours. From before that, that's separate. And I don't know if lawyers can do that. Anybody who's a lawyer in the audience, I have no idea if that's even a thing, but that's kind of where our heads are at. And I don't know if you guys are kind of thinking the same thing or not even thinking about it at all, but yeah, that's kind of where our heads are at. What are your thoughts?
That is a really tough one. And I think it really depends on the individuals, because I'm in my 40s, he's in his 50s. And so at this point, we're looking and saying, when we do combine, it's probably going to be 100% a combination. And we are starting to do things like put each other on vehicle titles, which all takes a ridiculous amount of time through the DMV, but that's a side note. And so all those little things we are starting to do and combine together. It'll probably be a while on the real estate to put each other on titles, but we will get there eventually.
Yeah, that makes sense. Awesome. Okay, cool. So the next topic I want to talk about are some of your current wins right now, and they don't have to be FI related. They can be anything you want to talk about.
Okay. I would actually say some of my biggest wins have actually been health related. So it's taken about 1.5 years, but I can tell you my heart rate has come down, resting heart rate has come down several beats per minute. I'm sleeping consistently without waking up in the middle of the night because I was traveling all the time in different hotels. I'm traveled so much for work. I'm lifetime platinum with Marriott. And so that's a lot of time waking up in hotels going, where am I? What city am I in? And almost in a blind panic. I don't do that anymore. I now sleep relatively soundly through the night. My endurance overall has come up. My energy levels are much more stable than they ever were. My blood pressure is actually coming down. So like all these very positive health aspects, my skin is cleared up. Like in general, it's all quite good. So to me, that's been the biggest win. I also discovered several years ago that I have a bunch of food allergies and sensitivities. And so I've been able to cut all processed food out of my diet and really focus in on, oh, wait, like, what have I eaten or what has happened that I'm not feeling good? Okay, let's examine this a little bit more and dial it back. And again, for me, that's been a big win because I've always had what we called a nervous stomach, even as a kid. She's just got that nervous stomach. And I'm finding out, nope, it wasn't a nervous stomach. It was food allergies, food sensitivities. My body was literally in fight or flight. And so being able to see myself being pulled out of that has actually been really quite incredible. Didn't know I'd ever get here, and I'm so happy about it. And all the ladies in my water aerobics class will tell you I talk about my blood pressure probably way too much, but I get excited being able to say, oh my gosh, this is what it was today. It's so good.
It's probably also exciting to accomplish those goals of lowering your blood pressure just through lifestyle changes, right? Instead of having to go on a medication, because I hate that we always have to be medicated. I'm like, can you give me some steps before the medication to try, unless I'm about to have a heart attack? Let's see if I can't bring it down myself. So I'm there with you.
And I mean, you always read the stories where people talk about lifestyle changes are the biggest things you can do. But at the end of the day, most people do choose the medication. And it's like, okay, I can actually say I've done a lot of the lifestyle changes. I'm proud of myself.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, I think you hit on something really important there is that people choose the medication, and I'm going to make a leap a little bit there. But when you are working the way that we all work and are under that level of stress and feel this level of exhaustion that's literally weighing you down, it's hard to then go and make big lifestyle changes, and being able to take a magic pill that'll just do it for you. It's the easy way out when you're feeling that level of burnout. And I mean, I'm kind of feeling it myself right now, and I don't even have a stressful job, but I have noticed that I'm sitting on the couch a lot more, and I'm eating things I shouldn't. Before this interview, I ate a huge bowl of mac and cheese. I'm 37 years old eating mac and cheese. So I probably need to quit that. But it's just because it was easy. It was easier than cooking something healthy. And it's, anyway, I feel like that, one pill that helps you, I can see why people do that. And I think that, I was actually going to ask you, do you attribute your ability to focus on your health and be able to make these big changes and actually see the changes take place? Do you attribute that to leaving your job?
Oh, 100%. It's not even a question, because work was, slowly draining my life force, and I could feel my life force draining away. I would work all day long. We worked 4/10s. And then on the weekends, you're just trying to recover and catch up and do all those things that you couldn't do during the week, and just exhausted all the time. And now it's a case of me going, I don't have that stress. I don't have that exhaustion. I don't have people waiting to talk to me. I'm not trying to hop on a plane. I'm not, supposed to be in 3 different meetings at the same time. I'm not balancing multiple cell phones. Life was pretty simple. And because I intentionally made it simple by doing the hard choice of quitting my job, I've been able to focus in on setting healthy boundaries, focus in on the things that truly matter to me. And one of the things that I said to myself and to my partner at the beginning of 2023 was, and I'm just going to focus on these top 5 things. I have interest in all these other areas. They're all going to sit to the side for the year. And so for the next year, it's just these top 5 things. And that has been so critical with letting me, have that ability and time to rest, that ability and time to heal, while still doing the things that are truly important, like we got quite a bit of travel in last year. That's something we both enjoy, and we were able to go do it, but it didn't stress me out like it would have in the past. I didn't lose sleep because we were off traveling. In fact, if anything, I got excited and energized from the travel that we did, instead of coming back from the travel going, okay, I've got 12 hours, so I have to be at the office. I need to unpack, do laundry, meal prep, all these other things. I didn't have the vast majority of the stresses in my life anymore. So yeah, I can attribute all of the positive things that have happened in my health and in my life in the past year and a half to quitting my job.
Yeah. So you heard it here, y'all. If you want more energy, quit your job. No, I love that. And that actually leads me to, you said you're a burnout coach. Is there any advice that you can give people? I know you do one-on-one advice, and we'll totally put your business link in the show notes for anybody who wants to reach out and hire you as their coach. But is there any general advice that you can give people to process the burnout they might be going through right now?
Yeah. And I recognize what a privilege it was that I was able to, leave my job and take that leap of faith, because not everyone has that, and everyone's, in a different journey, and some people just can't leave. For those who are still working, probably the biggest thing they can do is figure out how to set healthy boundaries. What is the stressors in their job or in their life? How can they set healthy boundaries around those? But then also, do they have a community? Do they have their tribe? The people who they can talk to, lean on, the ones who are going to be like, hey, you're looking a little rough today. What's going on? Let's go talk. The people who will be brutally honest with them, because we all need those friends in our life. We all need those people in our tribe. And that is, to me, so critical. I see a lot of people that I used to work with that they don't have that. And so they're exhausted, burnt out, and they have a loneliness factor as well.
And so what would a healthy boundary look like? Can you give us an example?
Yeah, it's saying no to those things that truly are not important, saying no to more things. I can tell you last year, my default setting for everything was a no. And it was recognizing, hey, I don't have the energy for these things. So, my partner, he has a lot more energy than I do at the moment. And he would be like, hey, my best friend's band is playing at this smoky bar. And I'm like, cool, that sounds like fun, but that's going to go till 2 a.m. Tell him I said hello, tell him I love him. I am going to stay home. You go have fun. If you need me to come pick you up, give me a call. Otherwise, I'm going to be here, probably asleep. And for me, that was a healthy boundary. It was recognizing that, it would be fun to go watch that band, but also I needed sleep. I needed to prioritize getting rest. A smoky bar was not good for me. I mean, I would be hacking the whole next day, and it just wouldn't be great overall for me. I could catch that show another time.
Yeah, for sure. It's so funny that you said that, because I literally did that a few weeks ago. My partner's cousin was in town visiting, and I love her. She's one of my favorite people, and they were going to go see a concert of one of their favorite bands. And it was on I think a Thursday, or I think it was actually a Tuesday. And the concert started at 8. And my partner bought me a ticket without asking me, which was really sweet. He just assumed that I wanted to go. And I was like, I'm so sorry, I'm not going. And I feel really bad that you bought me a ticket, but I am not going. That is a Tuesday night. It starts at 8. What the heck? No. I was like, 8 o'clock, I am on the couch watching Bridgerton in my PJs. No way. So y'all have fun. And the funny thing was I was still awake when they came home, because I was editing podcasts, but they were like, oh my God, that was so much fun. And I was like, that's cool. Kind of half asleep on the couch. So I'm right there with you, is what I'm trying to say. And I feel like, there is a huge level of FOMO, especially, and for anybody who doesn't know what that means, it means fear of missing out, especially for younger folks who are like, oh, I need to do all of the things. And if I don't, I'm going to miss out, and I'm going to miss, having this experience. That's not true. A lot of experiences, that I've had, I'm like, I would have been okay staying home. And it's okay to do that. You're still going to have a life that's full and meaningful, and you can just pick and choose the ones that you want to have. You don't have to do everything. And especially in your 30s and 40s and 50s, you just don't have to. Maybe in your 20s when you've got more energy, but
completely understand. In my 20s, I was a club kid in Los Angeles. So I I understand exactly what you're saying. Tuesday night, I would have been out and about, and man, I don't think I slept in my 20s. But that's how you end up burnt out in your 40s.
Yeah. Tuesdays for when I was in college was dollar beer night. So that's like when we went out was Tuesday when I was 21. So in a smoky bar. Luckily, it's illegal to smoke in most places now. But yeah, I went home smelling like cigarettes and drinking dollar PBRs. So which had like 2% alcohol anyway. So it was actually not terrible, but yeah, I don't know how I did it. I make the joke. I saw a joke the other day on Instagram, I think, and it was like something along the lines of when I was 21, I could get up and go to class to 8 a.m. and have school all day and then go and study in a study group and then go out to the clubs and then go to an after party and then go and sleep for 4 hours and do it all the next day. And now as an adult, if I have to do laundry and run an errand and work all in the same day, I completely lose my crap. And I was like, yep. That's exactly it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Completely understand.
Yep. So anyway, let's talk a little bit about if you have any current struggles that you'd like to share with the community and anything that we can learn from the struggles that you're going through right now.
So can't laugh, but my biggest struggle at the moment is trying to understand social media. Up until now, I've only used social media for photos of my cat, photos of my travel, and that was it. And even that was sporadic at best. And now that I have pivoted to being a burnout coach, I'm having to learn how to do things like make a reel, how to upload this dang things, how to do the stupid bubble words on top. And I mean, you watch these reels on TikTok and Instagram and all this stuff, and you're like, oh, that's just a cute little video. And then you go to make them and you're like, holy cannoli, this is a lot of effort. And I'm having to learn how to do all of that. And I'm sure the younger people in the audience are like, man, that's so simple. But, as you get older, like these things become more difficult and you're like, oh, I'm not a Luddite, but sometimes I feel like it. So that would be my current struggle is social media. I'm working diligently at it, but it is not my forte.
I am silently laughing, not at you, but at myself because seriously same. Like I just started a Latte Money about 9 months ago and I had never used Instagram before. I think I opened Instagram, like my account in 2012, uploaded maybe 13 photos and never did anything with it ever again. And so I was like, how do you do this? Instagram is so stupid, like every single day. And it literally, like people, just so you know, to create a reel that looks really good takes a solid like 20 minutes. I am not kidding, because you have to film the thing, you have to edit the video, you have to cut the video down, you have to stitch the videos together, you have to put the text on, you have to find the music that's trending, and then you have to write the caption, and then you have to think of like when you need to schedule it. I mean, there's so much to it, especially if you're a business person. I'm so here with you, Amanda. And if you need any help, I have been learning myself and I can try and help you. It might be a little bit of blind leading the blind, but I can try. And if there are any social media, gurus out there in the audience, please help both of us. We are dying here.
Yes, please. I'll take all the help.
Yeah, we're millennials. Like we were used to Facebook where you uploaded 100 photos to an album and that was it. That's all you had to do for social media back in the day.
I'm not even millennial. I'm Gen X. We were the feral generation. We didn't really do social media. Which, thank God, I look back at my high school days and college days, and I'm so glad social media was not around then.
Yeah, I was about to say you're lucky. And I feel lucky that I'm an elder millennial, quote unquote. And so like Facebook, I didn't join Facebook until I was about 21. So I was almost out of college. And I think I didn't get a cell phone until I was 19. And it was like the flip razor phone. Yeah. So yeah, y'all youngins don't even know what it's like to not have social media. It is so much better. So much better. Mm-hmm. Life is so much better without social media. Anyway, we're coming towards the end of the episode, but one thing that I love to ask people towards the end is if they have a life hack, a recommendation, or a learning that they'd like to share with the community. I know you've been sharing a lot of the things that you've learned, but is there anything that we haven't covered yet that you would like to share?
Yeah. So one life hack that my partner and I found that's made a huge difference for us is we bought a freeze dryer. And that's not a cheap thing to get into. It's about $3,000 for a good used one. But we did that because, as I said earlier, I've got a lot of food allergies and sensitivities, and it's things like sesame seeds, which are in everything. And so when we go out to eat, like a new place, it's a 50-50 odds on if I'm going to get sick. Well, we both like to travel, and those odds are just terrible. And, if I have sesame, I'm like down for a day sick. So we looked around and said, there's these things called freeze dryers. You put the food in and it literally freezes it, removes all the water. You put it in the appropriate type of Mylar bag, and then it's good for 25 to 30 years. And so I make food at home and, we test the recipe, make sure we like it. And then I just make a double batch and we run it through the freeze dryer. And then when we travel, we take it with us, and all we have to do is add water, heat it up, and we have our meals. So we save on travel costs, but we have front loaded all the cost. For us, that's been the biggest hack that I could ever recommend.
That's awesome. And wow, 25 to 30 years? That's crazy that lasts that long. So what exactly, so a freeze dryer, it removes all the moisture you said, and then you just add water? Okay.
It removes all the moisture and it keeps about 90 to 95% of the nutritional value. And so you're still getting like the good nutritional food, but it just now has no water and it has almost no weight either. So we'll take like a huge like tub of food with us now when we travel, especially for driving places, and it weighs like nothing.
That's amazing.
It's really cool.
Yeah.
And then, as I said, we just dump some water in. You have to let it soak for a little bit and then heat it up, and voila, you have a good home cooked meal. Yeah. For us, that's a total game changer.
I'm totally into this. I am like very curious. Okay. So what kind of foods can you do this with? Like, can you do it with like meats?
Yeah.
So breads? Is there anything out of like that you can't do this with, I guess?
The only thing you can't do is chocolate. And because the chocolate just doesn't do well in the freeze drying community, like the freeze drying community has tried a lot of different stuff. And there's all kinds of like websites that talk about what you can and can't do. But across the board, it's really just chocolate. And if anyone decides that they want a freeze dryer, you can actually make your money back within a few weekends of just freeze drying candy and selling it at farmers markets. Freeze dried candy, people like lose their minds for, and they'll pay like upwards of $10 a bag, like for a little bag of freeze dried candy.
That is so cool. I'm thinking of like freeze dried ice cream.
Yeah, we've done that, and we actually have it on the pantry now as like a snack for us, because we can do freeze dried ice cream bars, straight ice cream. Yeah, you can do almost every snack, as I said, except for chocolate. But yeah, full meals, fruits, veggies, run it all through.
Is this like what astronauts do? Like, not what they do, but what the food that they're eating up there, it's freeze dried, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So NASA. Okay, y'all. NASA has approved this, so it's safe. This sounds like a really cool hack, and thank you. Where did you find like a used freeze dryer?
Facebook Marketplace.
Nice. Yeah. Love me some Facebook Marketplace. Okay, cool. All right, everybody, go out there and get yourself a $3,000. No, just kidding. Only if you want to. But that's a really great hack. Thank you so much for sharing. All right. Well, I think that's about it. Thank you so much for being here, Amanda. This was amazing. And thank you for sharing all of everything that you shared and for willing to be so vulnerable and, really dig deep into some of these topics. It was really fantastic having you here.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for listening to the EverydayFI podcast. If you're loving the show, here are some things you can do. Number 1, subscribe in your favorite podcast player and share the show with your friends and family. Number 2, please leave a review. I'm always looking for ways to improve the show. Number 3, check out my website, EverydayFI.com, where you can listen to all the episodes and leave comments for myself and the guest. Number 4, if you're interested in sharing your own financial independence story, you can find a submission form at everyday-fi.com/podcast. And finally, number 5, join my Patreon membership for only $5 a month at patreon.com/everydayfipodcast. This is a one-woman show, so every little bit counts. See you next time as we continue to go down the path to financial freedom.